Once the data validation is approved, the next step is to map your ledgers to pre-configured schedule 3 compliant subheads. Ledger mapping is performed from the ledger classification screen. It is a one-time exercise for each client. Once the initial data is uploaded, you need to map the ledgers in AssureAI. If the client later shares an updated books of accounts for the same year or for subsequent years, the system will retain all existing mappings. You will only need to map any newly introduced ledgers in the updated books. The feature comes inbuilt with system-assisted mapping. You can click the Auto Map button to initiate the automated mapping process. AssureAI is pre-configured with a set of rules that automatically maps ledgers to the appropriate subheads. Additionally, the system offers flexibility to configure custom rules, allowing you to enhance the scope of automated mapping beyond the default set. In this example, the imported books contain 1,351 ledgers. When Auto Map is clicked, the rule engine is triggered, enabling the system to quickly map ledgers that match predefined rules and machine learning patterns. The remaining unmapped ledgers need to be mapped manually. There are multiple approaches available for mapping these ledgers. The Group Level Mapping tab provides you with a comprehensive view of all groups in a tree structure. When you expand a group that is fully mapped, you will see that all ledgers within it have already been mapped to subheads by the system. For any group that is partially mapped or unmapped, you will need to complete the mapping manually. When mapping at the group level, you can expand a group to view all unmapped ledgers within it. You can then apply a mapping at the group level, which will be automatically inherited by all ledgers under that group. Once mapped, the system updates the status of mapping and also displays the corresponding head name associated with the selected subhead. A legend at the bottom of the table explains the color codes used to indicate different mapping statuses. Unmapped, the ledger has not been mapped yet. Manual, the user has manually mapped the ledger. Mapping rules, the ledger was mapped using predefined rules. Previous period, the system copies the subhead mapping from any previous period. Machine learning, here the system has used machine learning to find the closest match. The Ledger Level Mapping tab displays a list of all the ledgers in a flat structure. For each ledger, you can select the appropriate subhead from the drop-down box. An easier and more efficient way to complete the mapping process is by updating unmapped ledgers in bulk. You can sort ledgers by their group or ledger name to identify similar entries. Then select multiple ledgers at once and assign them to the appropriate subhead using the bulk classification option. Once all ledgers are mapped, the Closing Stock Mapping tab is displayed. This tab lists all stock ledgers along with the respective stock category. If the stock ledgers were incorrectly mapped in the group or ledger level mapping, then the Closing Stock Mapping tab will display an error message indicating incorrect mapping. In this case, you have to return to either group level or ledger level mapping and correct the subhead selection. An additional tab, Partner Ledger Mapping, is displayed when the client status is set to firm. On this tab, the left-hand panel lists all unassigned capital and current account ledgers. The right-hand side panel displays all active partners in the firm in the current year. You need to assign the ledgers correctly to the partner names shown on the right-hand side of the screen. To do this, select the appropriate checkboxes and assign the ledgers to the corresponding partner names. A final selection is required before you can submit the mapping. You need to select either the capital or current account ledger, depending on how you want the system to allocate profit to the partner. You can also click the Auto Allocate button, which will, by default, select the current account for profit allocation. Once you save all changes, the Submit button is enabled, indicating that the mapping process is complete, and you can now submit the ledger classification. Please refer to the comments for links to videos explaining the features related to the ledger classification process. Add ledger, mapping rule configuration, and manage conflicts.